Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of AutoHrycFix. It finally happened. Um, the alternator went on the Honda Civic. I was driving it the other day and getting to a light. All the lights in the dashboard started to dim. I was like, oh no. Started to creep and the radio started to flicker and the car was starting to die. Um, Luckily, I made it back home. Um, I charged up the battery thinking maybe it was that at first, but nope, because the battery is brand new. I tested it and everything is good. So it was the alternator. I kind of knew it was coming. It's been making noise for a little bit, and it's the original alternator from 1997, so I cannot complain. It's did its job. So in today's episode, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be teaching you how to replace a alternator on a 1997 Honda Civic. This procedure is basically the same between 1996 and 2000. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's get started. All right, so we've securely jacked up the car and put the jack stands on because the way I'm going to be doing this is I'm going to be grabbing the alternator from the bottom. I'll teach you the way that I used to do it back when I was a mechanic in the garage. But first off, I will go over some tools that you'll need. Basically, you'll need 10 millimeter, 12, 14, some long sockets, extensions, short sockets as well. You can use also a 3/8 ratchet or a half-inch ratchet, depending on what you're more used to using. We'll be removing the drive shaft on the driver's side, so you'll need a 32 millimeter socket for the nut. You'll need a pry bar to remove the drive shaft and also to maneuver with the alternator. Um, First thing, most important, you're going to need to disconnect your battery. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. A drain pan so that when you take the drive shaft out, some oil from the transmission may leak. So it's always good to have one of those. And yeah, you know what, guys, in this type of job, especially when you're doing it at home and you're doing it outside, you're not in the garage, bring as many tools as you can. But like I said, it's mostly going to be 10 millimeter, 12, 14, maybe a 17, but I'm not exactly, I don't remember, but as we go along, we'll show you. You'll need a punch as well, a hammer, and yeah, so let's get started. First off, we'll start on the top, loosening the alternator from the top, removing the belt, and then we'll go underneath, remove the wheel, remove the drive shaft, and then get to the bolt that holds the alternator. And then afterwards, you're going to have to remove the bracket that holds the alternator, which is bolted to the block with two 14 millimeter bolts. You have to remove that to make enough space so that it slides between the cross member and the oil pan. All right. Yes, it is a little bit of a more challenging job, but honestly, it's not too bad. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's get started. All right, so first things first, always safety first. We don't want the car starting while we're working on it, so we're just gonna remove the negative from the battery. You know what, I even sometimes just remove it all together, you never know. And what, it takes an extra 30 seconds, at least you know that everything is unplugged. So that said, now we're going to go over to the driver's side where the alternator is located, and we'll start taking some things off from the top. So that'll be done on top, and we can go on to the bottom. Alright guys, so there is the alternator just right there. We're going to be removing that bolt that's just right there. It's a 12 millimeter. We'll remove it completely. I've already removed the wiring harness from this bracket here. We're also going to be removing this bracket so that we have all the space that we can when we're sliding it from underneath. So that's a 10 millimeter socket right there. When that is done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pry bar, slide it between the alternator and the master cylinder here, right there, and I'll pry it forward so that we can remove the belt, and then we're going to go and go underneath and start removing from underneath. Alright, so we went ahead and we removed the bolt that was there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go underneath. I already removed the tire so that we can get to the other bolt that's holding the alternator underneath, so we can slack it. So now that after we can stick our pry bar and advance the alternator so we can remove the strap. So there is the bolt that you need to loosen that holds the alternator in place. It's a 14 millimeter. We will loosen it and afterwards go back on top and loosen the alternator so we can remove the straps. We can come back down here and continue working on the bottom. Alright, so now we're back on top. I loosened the bolt and I advanced the alternator so that we can remove the strap. I'll show you that. As you guys can see, I removed the alternator forward and then I removed the strap from the alternator. So now we're good to go. We'll continue the rest of the video underneath. Alright, so basically the next step is going to be we're going to be removing the nut from the drive shaft and removing the lower bolt for the ball joint so that we can move the assembly over, remove the drive shaft so we have all the space that we need to lower that alternator. Alright, so now we're basically going to just pop out the drive shaft. I have my oil bucket here, and we're just going to pop it out. Like so. And we're going to put a bucket underneath just to make sure there's no oil that comes out. And we'll slide it gently out. Perfect. And there you have it. We have so much more now to remove our alternator. So we're just gonna remove the bolt that's here. Sometimes if you guys are not lucky, it's jammed in there. You might have to heat it up to remove it. But last time I did the timing belt, I greased everything up, so we should be fine. So now we're just gonna remove that bolt, slide the alternator over to the side, and we're gonna try and pass it through here in this section here, so we have all this space through all this space over here on the side. There you go. There's the bolt that holds the alternator. You'll see at the end it's squared so that when it slides into the alternator, there's a flat spot so that it doesn't spin when you're trying to bolt it back. We're going to put grease all over this bolt, very important. Now we're just going to pry the alternator out of this space. One thing you guys are going to notice is that on the alternator there's a plug and then there's a bolt that has the power wire on it. I wasn't able to get it from the top, so once it's over here, just be careful on the wires and we'll get it when it gets there. You might need some persuasion, but slow and steady wins the race. And the bolt that holds the power wire is a 10 millimeter, and I will show you that in a bit. Alright, so again, we get 10 millimeter and we remove the power wire from the alternator so that we can lower it. I'll try and get you guys a better angle. There we have it. Our alternator is the 10 millimeter power wire I just loosened. I'm just going to remove it. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to remove this bracket so that we have more space so the alternator can pass through here. It's 2 bolts. You have one right there and we have one right there. It's 14 millimeter, and so we're going to go ahead and remove that. And then we remove the bracket that holds the alternator. Another reason why we remove it, what we're going to want to do is here is like a little dowel inside the bracket that you're going to hammer out a little bit, so when you're putting a new one in, it'll slide in nice and easily, but it will close back in. It'll close back in when we're retightening it. So we're just going to put this on the side. And now as you can see, our alternator is right there. Sorry for the shakiness. I'm going to grab it, and it should, with a little bit of persuasion, it should come back. It should come down. And there you have it, the alternator. So now I'm just going to go to our local auto parts store, and I will purchase a new one, and we're going to reinstall it. Alright guys, so we're back from the auto parts store. I got myself a new alternator. So we're going to go underneath and we're going to reinstall it. The sun's going down, so we're going to try and get this done before it gets too dark. Alright, let's get going. Alright, so basically we're going to pass the alternator back through here, reinstall the bracket, and reinstall the bolt. So I have my brackets here, I have my alternator, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that. Alright, so it's getting a little bit dark, but one other tip to make this job a whole lot easier is that you should remove the oil filter from the top so you have more space to slide in the new alternator. I went ahead and I did that, and I will show you guys. As you guys can see, I slid in the alternator between the cross member and the block, but sliding it up was a little bit more difficult, so I had to remove the oil filter so I have enough clearance. It's not so bad, just gotta get your drain pan out again and just unscrew it, remove it, a little bit of oil is gonna come out, and slide in your alternator, and that's it. And we're gonna plug it all up, put back our bracket, and slide the alternator in. Alright, so the sun went down. I'm going to continue a little bit and then I'll finish off the rest tomorrow. Basically what I'm going to be doing is just going to reinstall the drive shaft and reinstall the nut for the drive shaft bolt. I will torque it and I will reinstall the fork. And then that'll be all for today. I think I'm going to continue tomorrow. Alright guys, so we'll see you tomorrow. Alright, so we're back. As you can see, it got a little cold and it snowed last night. So we're just going to finish up working on the Honda Civic. I buttoned everything up on the bottom. I'm just going to finish up and show you guys on the top. Alright, so as you guys can see, last night I installed the alternator. I retightened that bolt that was right there. What I did was I pried my pry bar between just right here. Pried it so I can adjust the belt. And then I tightened it on the top, and I went back down and tightened on the 14 on the bottom. And there you have it. We have our alternator. I'll just show you guys with my pry bar exactly what I did. Alright, so I went ahead and I finished installing everything from the bottom. I put back the drive shaft and reinstalled the suspension, reinstalled the tire. So now we're up on top here. What we're going to want to do is we're going to install the 12 millimeter bolt that goes from the adjustment bracket that bolts into the alternator. I reinstalled my alternator belt. Now all we have to do is you take your pry bar, you slide it between the intake here and the alternator, and you push it towards you. While you're pushing it towards you, the alternator will push back and it'll give tension on the alternator belt. So while you're doing that, all you gotta do is just push down on the belt and feel the tension. And once you feel that it's tight enough, usually what I do is I try and bend the belt and see that it doesn't bend too far. And then that will be the perfect tension. Once you have that perfect tension, you just gotta tighten it up and you're done. Next thing you gotta do is we're gonna start the car, and then we'll just check on the battery and make sure that that alternator is charging. So we started the car. I hooked up my multimeter, and I can see that it's reading 14.3 volts right off the bat at idle. So what we're going to do is we're just going to give it a little bit of gas and make sure that it's charging the battery at 14.5. But if anything between 13.5 and 14.5 that's charging your battery, is a good alternator. All right, and so there you have it. We replaced the alternator on the 1997 Honda Civic, and we did it in the driveway. And as you guys can see in the background, it snowed and it's getting a little bit cold. So until next time, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys learned something, and please like, share, and subscribe. It really helped my channel. And if you're on Rumble, please give me a follow, and have a great day. We'll see you soon. Bye, guys.